Top 9 Greatest Plot Twists in History. 9. An imposter German ship meets its real British counterpart. During the First World War, the Germans disguised one of their ships, the SMS Cap Trafalgar, as the British liner RMS Carmania. However, by an unlucky stroke of irony, the first ship they encountered near the island of Trinidad, off the coast of Brazil, note, not Trinidad, was the real RMS Carmania, whose captain, Noel Grant, immediately recognized their attempt to trick British ships, and launched a surprise attack early in the morning, ultimately leading to the sinking of the SMS Cap Trafalgar. Nice try, Germans. 8. An enraged emperor turns an island into a peninsula. At the height of the war between the empires of Rome and Persia, Alexander the Great decided that he wanted to worship at a temple on the island of Tyre. The island's leaders refused, because they wanted to remain neutral in the war against Persia, and allowing the emperor to worship there would send a message to the Persians that Tyre took the side of their enemy. They told the emperor to pray at a temple in Old Tyre, which was located on the mainland. Instead, Alexander, angered by this show of disrespect, saw this as a declaration of war, occupied Old Tyre and spent 6 months building a bridge to the island, using logs and stones from the ruins of Old Tyre. When he reached Tyre, he crucified almost everyone in the city, and sold the rest into slavery. Tyre is still a peninsula today. 7. A rude welcome costs an empire. During the reign of the Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan sent a large trading caravan to Crimea, an empire in the Middle East, hoping to start an alliance. However, the local governor did not welcome these travelers, and arrested them and sentenced them to death. Genghis responded to this by sending a few of his ambassadors to ask the Shah to release his men, and to explain his intent to create an alliance. Instead of hearing what they had to say, the Shah beheaded one of the ambassadors, and sent the others back with their heads shaved, which was a big insult to the Khan. Genghis Khan began to plan his revenge. He invaded the empire with force, and the Shah was forced to escape to an island off the Caspian coast to die. 2 years later, there was no Crimean Empire. 6. A paranoid king who's immune to poison. Mithridates I ruled the kingdom of Pontus around 100 BC. He was extremely paranoid that someone would try to assassinate him with poison, and so he took small doses of poison each day to build up his tolerance. Unfortunately, when he tried to kill himself after being captured by Romans, the more honorable path than being sold as a Roman slave, he was unable to as he was immune. Perhaps he should have channeled his paranoia into building a better army instead. 5. Twice the bad luck for Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan was the 5th Khagan of the Mongol Empire. It was 1274 and Kublai Khan had run out of China to conquer, so now he decided that he was going to conquer Japan. His first attack fleet was fended off by Japanese samurai, so they began their return to China to recuperate and plan a stronger follow-up attack. Unfortunately for them, however, on the way back to China, the fleet was sunk by a typhoon. It was 1281 and Kublai Khan was back, and he still had his eyes set on Japan. He launched the second biggest naval invasion the world would ever see, biggest, D-Day, and when they arrived at the shores of Japan, they discovered that the Japanese had blocked off their beaches with sea walls. The fleet trawled around the coast of Japan, searching for a place to land, and continued to search, right up until the day that the fleet was destroyed by a second typhoon. 4. The statesman who wasn't bluffing. When Julius Caesar was captured by pirates who didn't know who he was, they demanded 20 talents of silver for his freedom. Caesar was offended by the small amount, laughed, and told them to ask for at least 50, which they got. Caesar seemed to enjoy their company whilst he waited for his men to bring the silver the pirates had asked for, joining in with their games, and acting almost like he was of them. He often joked that he was going to have them arrested and crucified after they let him go, which they all found very funny and laughed with him, until they were arrested and crucified after they let him go. 3. Darius the Wizard Slayer. Darius the Great had a very interesting ascension to the throne of Persia, when he was caught red-handed standing over his dead predecessor with a knife. Of course, the Magi who discovered him began to call for the guards, as Darius had clearly just murdered the emperor. However, Darius claimed that he had not killed the emperor, as the man who he has just killed was a shape-shifting wizard. He claimed that this was not the real emperor, but an impostor who had done away with the emperor and took the throne for himself. The Magi consulted, and decided that Darius was telling the truth, because why would anyone lie about something like that? They unanimously decided to raise Darius the Wizard Slayer to the throne of Persia. He became one of the greatest rulers of the Achaemenid dynasty, and was famous for his genius. This may have been due to the fact that everyone else was stupid enough to believe in shape-shifting wizards. 2. Daeron's double cross. Chevalier d'Eon was a French diplomat and spy in England and Russia. Once d'Eon retired, it was revealed to the public that they had been a woman the entire time. They were then made to wear female clothing because of societal expectations of women. They went on to write some books and support the American Revolution. But here's the kicker. When d'Eon died, the woman who was dressing the body for burial discovered that d'Eon was, in fact, biologically male, and had been a man pretending to be a woman pretending to be a man.
1.
The British Revolution, or not. When the people of England rebelled against their king, Charles I, they were successful, had him beheaded, and put a new leader in charge, Oliver Cromwell. However, once Cromwell was given the position of ruler, the power got to his head and he became exactly the same as the kings who had come before him, perhaps even worse. He was more controlling, committed genocide in Ireland, outlawed Christmas celebrations and all fun, and declared his son as his heir. What was meant to be a new beginning for the country was turned into a brutal dictatorship. And so the people of England rebelled once again, were successful, and shortly after, Cromwell died of malaria. The original heir of Charles I, Charles II, was appointed as king, restoring the monarchy. Despite already being dead, Cromwell was then beheaded himself for the beheading of Charles I, and his head was displayed on a pike, and is pictured above. Charles II became one of the most popular monarchs in British history.
Make sure subscribe this channel.